On February 23, 1945, photographer Joe Rosenthal snapped what is the best-known picture of World War II. Atop Mount Suribachi on the Japanese-held island of Iwo Jima, he photographed 6 U.S. Marines emplacing an American flag on the mount, signifying that the volcanic mountain was in American hands. At the base of this 556-foot volcanic heap, U.S. Marines fighting a desperate battle to wrest the island from the Japanese shouted with joy and fired their weapons in the air when seeing Old Glory. Ships offshore supporting the land battle let loose with whistles and horn blasts. A lull in the fighting ensued. But after several minutes of rejoicing, the battle resumed in all its fury. Witnessing this event was a young African-American Marine, Gilmon Brooks. Seeing Old Glory flying over Mount Suribachi meant more to Brooks than to most others, as he was one of the few African-Americans accepted by the Marine Corps to join its ranks. His acceptance was a solid step taken toward the integration of the heretofore segregated Corps. Gil Brooks' attainments and those of others like him within the Marines were flag raisers in themselves. They resulted in the eventual integration of all the U.S. services after the war. Brooks therefore had more reasons than others to rejoice on seeing Old Glory raised on Mount Suribachi that day. Gil, you were born into a military family and raised at Fort Huachuca, Arizona. What was life like for you as a young African American?
It was during the Depression. When I would talk to youngsters that lived outside of the fort and also at the high school where I attended, I realized that we were quite fortunate to be Army brats at that time, because some of the facilities that we had access to and the military that we had access to, the people that we knew in the military, and our parents being all military, we just, at that time I didn't realize how fortunate we were. And I've come to appreciate it all the more as I get older. And in a way, I sort of hated to see the old type Army go out, you know, having been brought up there, you know, having even served overnight in the old guardhouse in Fort Huachuca when we were kids. We got picked up. And then the way it expanded, I just felt, well, you know, the Army is getting so big, so impersonal, you know, and just as a result of my being close to the military, having done KP in the mess halls for the soldiers, and having delivered papers to the soldiers and the troops in the old 24th Infantry Regiment, I just, I didn't like what I saw. And then when I left, I went out to Los Angeles to go to college, and even when I go back home to visit, I just felt that, well, this is not the same old military. So at the time, I think I was in my second year at LA City College, they announced that the Marine Corps were going to accept blacks, you know, and so I toyed around with the idea for a while, and I said, well, I think I'm going to try the Marine Corps. You know, I've always admired, you know, the old Marine Corps tradition and everything, although I knew it was segregated and that it would still be segregated because the Army was segregated at the time. Well, I went down and volunteered, and they had of course, a segregated base at Camp Lejeune called Montfort Point, and that's where they trained the first black Marines.
February 19, 1945, your unit, the 8th Marine Ammunition Company, took part in the invasion of Iwo Jima,
right,
the first island considered part of the Japanese home islands. Gil, what was invasion day like?
We shipped out of Honolulu, and we were on an LST. One day we just come upon this. Now we heard the shelling, and we saw flares and bombs and so forth. And we realized that we were this island. We had no idea where it was. And of course, you know, we were all talking to each other and trying to find out where are we and so forth. Well, anyway, it wasn't until about that afternoon that the unit commander called us all together and gave us a briefing. And we knew that we were off the coast of Iwo Jima. And at that time, you know, from what we could hear and see, as a matter of fact, one time we thought we actually saw one of those kamikazes dive into one of our one of the U.S. ships. So now we're saying, well, gee, I'm sure they won't put a plane into this little LST. They'll shoot for the larger aircraft, the larger battleships out there. But we began to get very apprehensive and nervous, of course. And this was on the 22nd or 23rd, 2 days. Because when we went in, they took our LST right up into the beach. And we were able to unload the 2 pontoons. They pulled the pontoons off, and they laid them on the beachhead. And most of our gear and everything, we were able to walk on those pontoons right up to our site, which was, I guess, from 50 to 100 yards from the base of Mount Suribachi.
Where were you when that famous flag raising took place on Mount Suribachi?
You know, it's funny, some things in your life you remember the least little detail, but I had just proceeded to tell some of the guys we had some ammunition that was supposed to be shipped up forward. And for some reason it ended up in the dump, you know. And we were in the process of getting trucks back to reload this ammunition to move it on up forward. And all of a sudden, you know, things just got real quiet. You know, we didn't even hear the truck engine going. And the truck, we were signaling the truck, and I happened to look up. And that's when I saw a bunch of guys up there. Now, this is at the top of Suribachi. And, you know, it was just odd, you know what I'm saying? I wonder what they're doing up there, you know. I'm thinking the mountain's secured, you know. So I'm wondering, what are they doing up there? And then as this was going through my mind, all of a sudden I saw the flag unfurl. And really, to this day, it was quite a sight to see Old Glory, you know, on top of Suribachi.